Hello and welcome to Jihad and the West. This episode is one of many that examines the integration of Islamic culture into European society, particularly in the wake of the surge in immigration from Muslim countries into Europe, especially Western Europe. It looks at relations between Muslims and non-Muslims in Europe, particularly in Britain. It is called Not All Rainbows and Unicorns: 4 Levels of Friction Between Muslims and Non-Muslims in Europe. 4 levels of friction. There are those who carry out acts of terror in the name of Islam, but it is not truly in the name of Islam, Theresa May said on December 1st, 2017, in response to President Trump's retweeting of violent images from Britain First. By 2018, there were roughly 4 levels of tension between Muslim and non-Muslim Britons. The first involves general, often mutual, unease. The second is a clear display of contempt through non-violent means. The third involves physical intimidation and non-lethal violence. And the fourth includes violence that could cause injury, disfigurement, or loss of life. Many forms of violence do not fit this model. For example, female genital mutilation, FGM, is usually, though not always, performed by adult Muslims on young Muslim women. Acid attacks are committed by both whites and Muslims, but direct violence by individuals of one religion against those of another is not typically seen. Friction. Level 1. A generalized, non-violent unease. The first level of hostility is a generalized, non-violent unease. It is a palpable mutual resentment between Muslims and non-Muslims confined to words. Some name-calling is illegal, because there are no legal protections for speech. Muslim organizations use hate speech laws to censor discussion they view as deriding Muslims or Islam. Conversely, non-Muslims resent efforts to elevate Islamic law above British law and liberal norms. Many whites complain that the constant, loud protests against anti-Muslim harassment and bias are exaggerated and create a chilling effect on open discussions about Islam. Casual comments have resulted in fines or imprisonment. For example, a burger van owner was prosecuted for saying that Muslims are taking over and that he would like to feed them bacon. The comment cost him about $1,000 in fines. Level 1 includes passive aggression. Whites complain that they are treated disrespectfully and that their customs are subordinated to those of Muslims. For example, a Muslim shop assistant refused to sell a bottle of wine, citing her religious beliefs. In Scotland, the largest ever immunization program was scotched after Muslim parents complained that a vaccine contained pork gelatin. In turn, Muslims claim they are victims of employment and social discrimination. They say they are excluded and blocked from entering the upper strata of British life. Friction level 2. Aggressive contempt and harassment. Butchers of Basra. Anglian soldiers go to hell. Islamists chanting at British soldiers at their homecoming parade in Luton, March 10, 2009. England, England, we pay your benefits. Britons in Luton returning chants to Islamists at British soldiers at a homecoming parade. Luton, March 10th, 2009. The second level of friction is aggressive contempt and harassment. At that level, tensions escalate beyond harsh glances and social snubbing. Anger is expressed through yelling, threatening, shoving, and sometimes throwing things. In March 2017, in Luton, the British Armed Forces faced hostility when Muslims called returning British soldiers murderers. Townspeople responded with yelling. This incident drew national attention and led to the creation of the English Defence League, making its leader, Tommy Robinson, a widely known and controversial figure. Jada Franson also gained some fame when she organised a Christian patrol in response to Sharia patrols. She also received a fine after berating a Muslim woman about hormonally driven Muslim men whom Franson claimed raped women across Europe. This statement cost her $2,500. In some British cities, white residents complain that Sharia patrols harass them if they carry alcohol or if women dress in ways considered inappropriate under Muslim norms. Gays sometimes face mockery and belittlement when showing affection for their same-sex partners. Jews in traditional dress are spat on. Behaviours such as sexual harassment, staring, and some groping are treated as minor conflicts. Former Muslims and gays are often targeted with verbal abuse. Level 2 conflicts include whites teasing Muslims by tossing bits of bacon. A man who told Muslims to go eat bacon was fined, and another was imprisoned for leaving bacon sandwiches on a mosque's doorstep. After reports that someone left 2 pieces of bacon on a Muslim's windshield and a full pack of bacon strips near a mosque, a Cambridgeshire police spokeswoman said, "We will be carrying out extra patrols in the area of both Cambridge mosques." There is sometimes friction between practicing Muslims and ex-Muslims. In Islam, leaving the religion is punishable by death. British Muslims who convert to Christianity sometimes live in fear. Due to concerns about hate speech, some criticism of both female genital mutilation, FGM, and forced marriage is banned. Friction, level 3. Violent, non-lethal attacks. They were overlooked, they were discriminated against. They were treated appallingly by protective services, said Sarah Robotham, a Rochdale sexual health counsellor, referring to girl victims of sexual exploitation. At the third level of friction, there are intentional acts of violence driven by religious animus. These include spontaneous shoving, fistfights, and non-homicidal attacks with bladed weapons, vehicles, poisons, firearms, and other objects that were weaponized. Level 3 may also involve threats of violent acts. Police are often hesitant to classify violent acts as motivated by religious or racial animus. Unless clear evidence shows that the attack was solely or mainly driven by religious animus, it may not be classified as a hate crime. Stories of rape have become so common that only the most sensational make headlines. Beating, both random and targeted, has also become frequent. Some attacks are clearly motivated by religion. 3 Muslim men in their 20s approached men on Liverpool streets, asking whether they were Muslim or Christian. Those who answered Christian were beaten, as was one who said, "It's none of your business." Some of these attacks were captured on video, the attackers were arrested, and one, after being detained, confessed to targeting people because they were white and non-Muslim. Notorious sex grooming scandals surfaced. Many underage white girls were targeted and pressured into sex by men and boys of Pakistani or Somali heritage. Some girls were given narcotics to develop addictions which then pushed them into prostitution. In some cases, girls were simply abducted and raped. Nearly all of the girls who were groomed were non-Muslim, and almost all of the perpetrators were Muslim men. The wives of jailed Muslim sexual offenders blame the victims. Labour MP Naz Shah shared a social media post urging victims of heinous sexual abuse to stay silent for the good of diversity. Many Britons have remained silent about the widespread sexual abuse, but some victims have spoken out. Level 4, homicide. There's only one way Britain should respond to attacks such as Manchester. That is by carrying on exactly as before. Andrew Buncombe, a journalist at The Independent, referring to the Manchester bombing, The Independent, May 23rd, 2017. The fourth level of friction is homicide. These attacks make international headlines, especially when there are multiple homicides or gruesome casualties. In Britain, mass killings by Irish separatists persisted for years. Since the 7/7 attacks in London, most politically motivated multiple killings have been linked to radical Islam. In spring 2017, a 47-year-old white man drove a lorry into Muslim worshippers at a London mosque, shouting, "This is for London Bridge." He killed one person and injured others. Bombing targets vary. Iconic structures like London Bridge are common targets in Britain and elsewhere in Europe. The technology used was relatively advanced, as seen in the Manchester suicide attack. Bombs are designed to kill and maim as many people as possible. A notorious homicidal attack was the Manchester Arena bombing. A young suicide bomber packed a rucksack with a massive number of small metal objects to kill, blind, maim, and scar as many people as possible. 22 people were killed and 220 received medical treatment. Mother and daughter Lisa and Safi Roussos were in the audience to see Ariana Grande. The 48-year-old mother was severely injured in the blast. 5 days later, after emerging from a coma, she learned that her 8-year-old daughter had been killed at the scene. Given the randomness of the attacks, it is usually impossible to predict who will be targeted tomorrow. Victims typically begin the last day of their lives without suspecting they will be murdered before dawn. Their families and friends are often unprepared for the shock and grief that will endure for the rest of their lives. In March 2017, on Westminster Bridge in London, a British convert ran over and stabbed people. More than 50 people were injured and 5 died from their wounds. What about more recent attacks? These are the subjects of upcoming podcasts. Thank you for listening to this episode of Jihad and the World. We will soon release an updated version of these 4 levels of friction. We are also very excited about our latest book, Cauldron of Terror, Hamas, Israel and the World, which will soon be available for purchase. Nothing in this podcast represents the official opinion of the United States government. Until our next podcast, thank you and goodbye from Kensington Security Consulting.